for Imola and the second round, to Austria for the Red Bull Ring, to America for Watkins Glen, and back at the home of Formula Racing, Reese, in Silverstone.
It's a brilliant schedule, all with tracks that we should all recognize very well, particularly looking forward to seeing how the racing turns out at Watkins Glen. If any race is going to be a slipstream fest, it's going to be that. And Silverstone is just a great place to end a championship. We'll see who comes off the best over this wide variety of circuits. Spa, of course, fast, flowing, long. Imola, it's full of chicanes. There's a lot of technical challenge to it. The Red Bull Ring is all about straight line performance and hard braking. Watkins Glen, as I said, all about the slipstreaming. And Silverstone, I think, blends in a bit of everything with its multiple quick corners.
And what you'll also find is that if you were watching earlier on this morning, you had your eyes peeled on the GT3 running that we had. We were running a race that was half an hour long. And so that gave you an understanding of, okay, you've got time to settle into this race. Reese, we're slashing that time in half. For these F4s, they got 15 minutes. That is, get in, get aggressive, and get out again. It is a very, very quick gauntlet that they're going to have to run today.
Oh, indeed. And, you know, Formula 4 is known for its shorter races. It's not exactly an endurance category, but I think that ups the ante a bit when it comes to making moves. You know, if you've got a shorter time in which to make those moves, you're just going to be dialing that aggression up all the way. You're going to be going for that pass in that braking zone. You're going to be trying to stick in the slipstream. You're going to be muscling that car around every single one of these corners to get that slightest bit of advantage. But with aggression comes potential for chaos and mistakes.
Yeah, and they are all very much available to these drivers. They look to search the final stages of practice. There are drivers who are, quote-unquote, here doing the double out there and looking to push Reese. I turn around, I look at Jake Samet, Mika Murcieka, Aaron De Battista, Ilan Dimek, and Brandon Bonello. 5 who are doing the double from doing GT3 and F4. But 5 new names to the party, which includes Craig Caruana, Sean Cassar, Steve Exeter Farrell, Ayrton John Tanar, and then Joshua Kochi Savona. Those 5 now have to prove that they've got what it takes to do everything that they can to push to the level that is available, to say those drivers who are tried and tested and battle ready already, we're just as good and we can do it because we're fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. We're checking in with the live feeds of the drivers right now, sitting in their rigs and just discussing things with their race engineers before practice comes to its conclusion. It is going to be interesting seeing those matchups. You know, we got Aaron De Battista, who's just come off winning the GT3 race a little bit earlier, how he's going to match up against what I would argue may be more F4 specialists than all-round performers, seeing how they match up. Caruana, in particular, is pushing the limits in the practice session. He currently sits in second, and it's not a huge gap, only about 1.5 tenths.
And it's worth noting that Aaron De Battista is the reigning F4 champion, so he is someone who wants to go in, defend his crown out there and say what he's good for. They had a big old tournament as well just a couple months ago, Reese, out there in the Maltese scene, which Aaron De Battista came out on top with, and critically, he was beating the likes of Jake Samet and Mika Murcieka to that crown. So he is battle-tested. He knows what these drivers are capable of. There's some big, strong series that have gone out to prove, right, we are the top level. And look at him, taking a look at the replay, trying to have a little understanding of the racing lines here. We're seeing one of the drivers having a look over at Project Aversion to say, look, this is what I want to understand about how we're going about things. It's Aaron De Battista, that we're seeing this look at right now, going, okay, I want to see not what I'm doing, what my opponents are doing.
Yes, indeed. You can obviously watch other cars in the session, and you can watch them from any angle you please in the sim. You don't have to just rely on TV cameras and feeds and such. You control it all. And De Battista will undoubtedly be getting some very valuable information about how best to attack Spa-Francorchamps here. He was fifth place fifth place in practice, my apologies. So he does have a little bit more time to find. Qualifying has just started, though, so it's time to put what he learned into practice.
And he is first out of the well, one of the first out of the gates, but first out of anyone is Brandon Bonello. And remember, Brandon did not get the opportunity to run in the GT3. He set a time but could not actually go out and race. And he's there with Jake Samet trying to understand what he's got available to him and know that he's got still every single chance out there to say, right, well, maybe it's not going to work for me in GT spec. It's going to be a lot better for me in the racing's trim and spec that I've got at this moment. With Bonello there just sat behind Jake Samet, it's about how do I make this work? How do I get things going for Aversia, those two together? Caruana, another member then of the Intercomp VMD team. Ayrton Tamar is there just behind him. And then you got De Batista, Cassar, another member out there of that. And so you get a lovely sense of who's putting what down on the board, who wants to make what stick. And actually, what you find is you get some who can make the jump between GT3 and F4, and others who can just say, look, I'm Formula Specialist through and through.
Yeah, that's something that you often see in sim racing. Drivers do tend to gravitate towards one particular kind of car. We have a veritable amount of esports pros who are good across all kinds of car, but there are a fair amount of specialists out there, and what they're special at, they're really special at. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of times can be put down in this session. Speaking of times, worth a little pace comparison between the GT3s we saw earlier and these F4s. The GT3 pole position time was a 2-minute 16-second lap. These drivers are setting 2-minute 23-second times at the very top of the field. So there's a lot less power in these F4s and a lot less cylinders, half that we saw in the Mercedes earlier. But yeah, the downforce, the lightness, the dynamics of the chassis, they all work out to what amounts to a very small difference around such a long lap.
Yeah, and this very long lap sets yourself up then in progress, because once again, we are running the endurance layout here today, which means the start of the lap is actually down here and up to Eau Rouge, rather than taking a Grand Prix start out there and starting at the La Source hairpin. You climb the hill up over through Eau Rouge and Radion, and from this driver's eyes perspective of Brandon Bonello here, trying to look beyond the halo device, you climb up towards Lake Coombe, and this road race would have been the separator between the towns of Spa and Francorchamps.
Exactly. This track has an awful lot of history. First opened in 1921 for racing, constructed out of public roads initially. It actually didn't stop being partially public road until, I believe, the late 90s, early 2000s. It's an incredibly historic track. We're currently on the purpose-built section of the circuit now that came into use in 1979 and has pretty much not changed at all since in terms of its route. The surroundings have changed slightly. Better barriers, tarmac runoffs, better curbs, etc. But you're still traversing the same route that greats like Schumacher, Senna, Mansell traversed back in the day.
Absolutely, and you have your opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to vote for your driver of the day during the race. If you head to wpr.gg/vote/715, you will have the chance to get yourself in on the vote. Or, alternatively, got a lovely QR code there on the right-hand side, and you've got about 3.5 hours to make your vote for driver of the day at the moment on the times as it stands. So you'll get a little look and see who is going to be the one who you think has done the best job out there here today. So making the work now through Blanchemont corner, 6th gear, slightly losing the revs there down to 6,500 there. So a little bit of either A, a light lift, or B, just scrubbing the speed from how much rotation of the steering wheel there was, pushing up through the final chicane then to go and get that first all-important lap down on the board. They will cross the Grand Prix finish line, but they're not done yet, because they've still got to get through the La Source hairpin. On camber, it acts like a slingshot through here, down in through, climbing on away, and Brandon Bonello now knows that he has got the launching power to try and go. You'll see what Jake Samet can do in front, and he sets the mark at a 2:23.8. Bonello, hanging on the coattails, is a 10th and a 3/4 quicker.
Good time from Brandon Bonello there, and shows how much of an advantage the slipstream can get you. Aaron Di Battista moving his way into second spot for now, just about half a tenth behind Bonello as things stand. So that's our first roster of times in. We're about to get a couple more as Ilan Dimek goes to the top on a 2:23.6. That's an impressive time.
It is an impressive time, and he was using Sean Cassar all the way, and currently your top six. Oh, as Ayrton goes in for a bit of a spin there. Ayrton John Tamat getting it all wrong over at Lacoon. That is a full 360, trying to put the power down off of the exit. He just looped it around, and there's not much he could have done about that, except, look, I'm going to have to put the power down. But those times, look at it, 0.3 of a second, Reese, splits your top 5, 0.4 for your top 6.
And we still have 3 drivers left to set times in this one. Craig Caruana and Joshua Savona were not able to get times in on their first lap, so we're still waiting to see exactly what they can do versus these brilliant times that we're seeing up the top. Mikhail Matieka, meanwhile, was in the session, but now is not. So I don't know if there's been some problems on his end, but hopefully we can see that 333 back out there. Only got 3 minutes left to join, though.
And that'll be problematic if your round is already written off before you got a chance. Shake it ahead from Craig Caruana. He wasn't happy with his run there through Stavilo Corner. And for those who do end up finding themselves in Stavilo, you climb the hill, you go on to the very, very top of Stavilo. There is a statue that is dedicated to arguably the greatest cyclist that ever lived, the 5-time Tour de France winner and Mr. Monument himself, Eddy Merckx, out there. And of course, is relevant because of Team Polti Visit Malta, which is a lovely pro-Conti cycling team out there in the world of cycling out there, and the connection that the Belgian Ardennes has around here, which is very close to Liège, Bastogne-Liège. Craig Caruana now looking to make this push through the final corner then of La Source, and hoping that his drive out from 82 kilometers an hour is going to be more than enough to get him the launch as he goes. Had a little bit of gravel picked up on the rear left tyre. It's a 24.6. Not what he was hoping for there, to be a full second off the pace at the moment, and bottom of those who have set a time. Josh Savona, though, is on the charge, and the number 9 does not want to be in position number 9 by the time that the checkered flag falls in 2 minutes.
Yeah, accelerating out of La Source there. Caruana not only didn't have slipstream, but he also, I think, had some trouble getting the power down. We saw him sliding coming out of the chicane and La Source a little bit earlier. These F4 cars, they drive like giant go-karts, which is fitting because we have a real-world karting championship running alongside our sim championships as well. But if you have go-kart experience, then you can bring that to the fore in the F4. The consequence of that, though, is this thing really likes to slide the rear end, and you kind of have to get a bit of rotation going if you want the best run out of these corners. Problem is just trying to limit the slide. You want just enough to help you, but any more is going to hinder.
And do you notice, Reese, that the top teams, you saw Bonello and Ghirschi, they were the fastest, they used the toe, they had a cool lap, and now they are the ones doing the towing.
Correct. So they're helping out the drivers that they were running with. So a little bit of tit for tat, so to speak. 50 seconds remaining in the session, and that should be enough time to get one more lap started if you're in this location of the circuit right now, coming up to the chicane. Jake Samet now trying to get himself a little bit further up the order, but he doesn't need to gain much. 2:23.762, playing a 2:23.601 for pole position. So anything that he can gain, I mean, that's basically a straight's worth of slipstream separating third from first.
It is, and it makes a whole world of difference. Ilan Dimek, unfortunately, has fallen back, so I don't think his lap's going to be representative out there, but They are down to 12 seconds, and what will be crucial is Brandon Bonello and Jake Samet are going to get another lap out there. Craig Caruana is going to be close to see whether they'll go and get that. There are no changes in the order. They stay as they are right now. Checker flag out, though, on Craig Caruana, a 2:24.2. Good enough to jump one spot into 7th. De Battista is stuck in 4th place. He couldn't improve. Neither could Ayrton John Tonat find improvement out there. Caruana's day done. Sean Cassar comes to the line right now. He's done a 23.7, and that's good enough to go up to 5th place. But Ilan Dimek, his time won't count. Joshua Corci is off at last source, so his lap time is done. But you've still got Steve Caesar Farrell out there on lap, and still two, Jake Samet and Brandon Bonello. So those three drivers all have opportunities to go and get that time better at the moment. Steve currently sits on a 2:24.0. He is 4/10 off the pole as it stands, and he crosses the line, and his lap won't count. So now, Reese, it's down to these two running to Fania.
Indeed, Bonello and Samet out on track at the moment, and now Jake Samet has taken point in the fight, but he's got a big helping of oversteer there on the way through Fania. So difficult to manage the direction change through that part of the circuit. This is the really, oh wow, he's really having trouble, isn't he? And this is not going to help Brandon Bonello. Now he has no slipstream in this section of the track.
And what we know is Jake Samet running off the road. It invalidates the lap here in iRacing, but he won't go quicker, so he pulls it over to one side. That's qualifying in the books, and Ilan Dimek has put the car on pole position, and that for him is going to be huge in the number 4. With Brandon Bonello and Jake Samet 2nd and 3rd for Project Aversia, Aaron De Battista will be 4th, with Sean Cassar 5th, Steve Caesar Farrell 6th, and then Ayrton John Tonat, Craig Caruana, and Joshua Corci Savona. It does not look like we will get Mikael Murcieka for this race, and so we will be getting ourselves then with 5 minutes for these drivers to do their last fine-tuning in the warm-up race, and I'd be turning around and looking at Jake Samet here and going, those tyres are running too much on a knife edge. I will probably want to do something about the pressures.
Yes, indeed. You can change those settings, so that it's a good opportunity to work out any problems you've been having with the car in practice and qualifying. Of course, you have to think about the race as well. It is only a short one, but any kind of change that you can make at this point is probably going to help. You just got to make sure not to go the other way and suddenly find yourself with a car that doesn't quite work as well as you wanted. Well, the drivers will be getting those final preparations in, and we're going to get excited for what is sure to be an action-packed little race here.
Absolutely, and this might be one of the circuits where you do not want to be leading going on to the final lap, so we'll keep an eye on that. We're going to step aside for just one moment with the Malta National Sim Racing Championships for 2026. Your championship opener continues on the other side.
From our first breath, Enemed powers life's journey. Every step of the way. Supporting you through life's milestones. Fueling businesses that drive our economy. And providing the energy that brings families together. We're there when you set sail on your new adventure. And when the plane takes off, to connect you to the world. Our commitment to quality and innovation ensures we meet the needs of today, tomorrow, and beyond. Life is a journey, and Enemed is proud to power yours. Wherever life takes you, we will be there.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to racing action from the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in your Malta National Sim Racing Championships for 2026. The start of the F4 division kicks off right now with, of course, the karting division that is to run on a different schedule and the GT3 division that has started off earlier on today. I'm Jake Sperry, that's Reese Gardner. It's 15 minutes worth of high-intensity sim racing that is going to be coming up next, and a field that says the main competitors, the main two Reese I'd look at for this championship are third and fourth. Well, it looks like we don't have you, Reese, for a moment, so hopefully we'll jump through. There you go.
What I was going to say is Samet finishing on the podium and Aaron Di Battista on the win as well. So they've got some form to back themselves up. Samet just minding his own business in the midst of everything. And I think that he might be trying to employ the same strategy here. He is starting third, though, so he has a bit more to gain.
And a big update is that Mika Murcieka is now in sim, so we are going to get the full complement of 10 drivers here, which I think is a huge bonus compared to where they are. But ultimately, Murcieka is going to have to make moves and make them quick up the order because he doesn't have time. You put it into perspective here, they're doing 2:23 lap times. Roughly, that's 8 minutes for 3 laps that they're doing. So this will be a 6-lap race, Reese.
A very short one indeed. Spa-Francorchamps is a long circuit, but you spend so much time thinking about your mid-corner speed and such that it'll be over in the blink of an eye from the driver's perspective. But I hope that we are gifted with some fantastic action every single lap here. Looks like it may be a standing start.
It will be a standing start, so they're going to be aggressive up, and all 9 are going to populate very far. Well, all 10 should populate very fast onto the grid here, just waiting now then for your leader out there, Ilan Dimek. All 10 are there. Dimek, Bonello, Samet, De Battista, Kassar. Then it's Steve Farrell, Caruana, Ayrton Tamar, Joshua Calci-Savona, and Mika Murcieka. Let's get ourselves ready. Green flag in the air, and 15 minutes starts now, and it's a little bit bogged down from Brandon Bonello. It's a great start by Ilan Dimek as they'll rise up the Red River, Eau Rouge, into Radion corner the right, and now the left that leads them onto the Kemmel Straight for the first time. It's clean as they work through, but now how do those two Aversio cars work when they've got the big old hulking screaming F4s coming at them from Intercom VMD, who are looking for ways through. 2 wides to 3 wides to where do you pick your moment on the brakes up into Lakecoombe. It's Dimek Girshi who leads, Bonello then into third and potentially fourth now. Here comes Sean Kassar. What a start.
An excellent start from him. He put his car in exactly the right spot, but there's a spin at the back. It looks like Ayrton John Tonner going around there, coming out of Malmedy. So we've lost one driver from this group for the moment. Looks like he is still rolling, though. An absolute lightning start from Sean Kassar. Brandon Bonello slightly compromised here on the first lap. But look at that. Ilan has not gotten away from them. He's still well within slipstream range.
Very much. Here's Aaron De Battista down 1 off the start. He's back into 5th place, but Ilan Dimek there, that grimace as he works himself into the corners of Fania. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to have that staring back at me if I'm in a battle with him, because he is absolutely zoned in on what he needs to do, and Jake Samet is going to be very alert to that as they run out of campus and through Stavilo corner here and take the long ride back to home. As far as that goes, you've still got, though, everybody in a line, and that's the key. You've got to pick up slipstream off the car in front, off the car in front, off the car in front. Here comes Jake Samet on the run to Blanchimont to make the move. He gets to the inside, says, and breathe, that's mine.
Lovely move, but he's still got to defend on the inside here. Ilan coming back on him into the chicane. It's been a great first lap for racing. All the drivers are giving each other a good amount of room. We haven't seen any contact incidents yet. So all up, I'm pretty happy with how things have gone here. But Samet is now under a lot of pressure, and he has got 2 team cars both trying to pull a double-pronged attack here. Exit out of La Source, super important. At the conclusion of lap 1, it is Samet in the lead, but not by much.
Ilan Dimek is all over the rain light, trying to find his way forward. They have formed into packs of 4 and 4 at the moment, and they are realizing here, if you're not in the right train, you're gone. Ilan Dimek gets a great run over the top of Radion, and now here comes the chance. He's going to get help, and is this going to be either side? It is. Sean Cassar pushes it to 3 wide, gets a monstrous run and says, I'm through. Ilan Dimek lifted off, and he's back now into third, fighting Brandon Bonello. A major pass by Sean Cassar. He's not going to lift out of anything.
Double slipstream working beautifully there for Sean Cassar, but let's see how much more slicing and dicing there's going to be. Again, 6 laps worth of this kind of action. As long as you're within a second of the car in front, you'll get the slipstream off them, no problem. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of passing and repassing for these podium positions. It is on for 5th on back as well. Steve Farrell, Aaron De Battista, they've been fighting hard as well. They were 3 wide into Lacombe earlier on in the lap.
They were, and it just goes to show you how much of an overtaking zone it is, and you now start thinking about what these drivers can do. Bonello trying to find a line back there in 4th. Ilan Dimek covered it off, Cassar leading, but again, Jake Sammett's trying to just find the right time to make the moves as Steve Caesar Farrell looks to try and stay within slipstreaming range. And then you've got De Battista, Caruana, Murcieka, who are back there 6th, 7th, 8th places right now, and thinking, well, how do I get the points necessary to climb up the order? How do I jump up with what I've got available? It's currently Jake Sammet chasing down with Ilan Dimek, who's going to have to be alert to this, because once again, Jake Sammet pokes for the inside through Blanchimont, absolutely stone cold flat. They both go through there, and it's 2 by 2 into this next section. Dimek holding off Bonello, but this time it's Sean Cassar who leads going into the chicane.
Did you see that oversteer from Sammet on the inside of Blanchimont? That car was swaying all over the place. These F4s, they do produce a reasonable amount of downforce, but those are tiny wings keeping that car planted to the ground. They can only do so much when they're working at their maximum. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of more sliding to come here with 10 minutes remaining in the race and 5 laps to go. It's up to Sammet now to try and put himself in a strong position here. Yes, he has the slipstream, but with every pass you make, every time you go side by side, the risk just increases. But he can't quite afford to hold back either.
No, because if you don't make the overtake, suddenly the car in third's going to move, and Ilan Dimek now is going to have to force his way to the outside to make it happen. 3 wide as they go under braking here. Do they leave enough room for each other? Yes! And Ilan Dimek now makes a sweep around the outside. He gets loose, though, on the curve. That brings Jake Sammet back into position over the top of Malmedy. Now to Brussels, trying to force for a bit of room. Then does Ilan Dimek. He gets it over Jake Sammet, and the group is back together as 7 now. 8 as off the back is Craig Caruana.
Joshua Cauchi-Savona has also fallen off the back of this pack, so he and Ayrton John Tonner will not be a part of this one, but my goodness, what a battle it is. Happy to report that Mikhail Murcieka is back in the session as well. He managed to take the start, and he's already gained 3 spots, so let's see what he can do now that he's at the back of this angry pack.
Well, he's got to find a way. There's contact. And all of a sudden, it's Sean Cassar who takes the tap from Brandon Bonello. It will cost him Steve Caesar Farrell. And now he's on the wrong side of the train. So a big old hit in the back, under braking at Fania, makes a whole amount of difference. And Brandon Bonello's front left wing plate is bent up.
An impressive save, though, into Fanier. You saw that he was all over the curb on the outside of the corner, and he was mere millimetres away from putting that left rear into the gravel and spinning around. Very impressive that he was able to recover that. Hopefully, he hasn't lost too much straight-line speed as a result of that aero damage. Meanwhile, for the lead into the chicane, Jake Sammet on the inside of Ilan Dimek-Gerzi. And, well, once again, there's plenty of room given, but Sammet, with a great exit round the outside, can he go for the move at La Source? I don't know if I'd put it up the inside there.
Well, it looks like he's got no choice, because look who's trying to chase back behind then. You've got then his teammate in Brandon Bonello. You've got Steve Caesar 3 wide behind and room being given, pushing right up onto the berm of the curb. There goes Ilan Dimek as they all look for range and room out there in these main groups. They sit down. Just over 7.5 minutes to go in this race, so there'll be another few laps left that they've got to start thinking about. And look at the way these top four all swarm, looking for an angle along the Kemmel. And now here comes the move then that we've been waiting for from Jake Samet. Brandon Bonello tries to find his way. On the inside, he does. Steve Caesar Farrell, the road's blocked. Where does he go? He's got the run, but nowhere to make it happen. Ilan Dimek's better on the brakes. Then he catches a massive old slide, which brings the group back together again. Samet now looks to try over the top of Malmedy. He's still stuck on the outside and needs the run. Bonello now goes to the inside. Steve Farrell over to the outside, trying to make this happen. Mercieka now looking for a go on there, and it's 2 by 2 by 3.
This is ridiculous. These guys are sticking together like glue. Oh, there's a bit of contact between the team cars in the background, though. Looks like Brandon Bonello and Aaron De Battista, or was it Steve Farrell that made contact there? And that's put another split in the pack now.
It has. So Steve there, the third of the Project Aversio cars, now dropping back with that hit. And so Brandon Bonello way back in the pack with Sean Cassar, who the two came together a lap previous. Steve Caesar Farrell here trying to get back to the podium here, where Aaron De Battista has quietly worked. Mercieka up to 5th. And what I've noticed from those two drivers is, for all of the aggressiveness that we have seen, they have not wanted to put their cars in a position of risk.
Yeah, keeping it clean in the early stages is essential. It may only be a short race, but survival is still key. You've got to get to that final minute of the race, no matter how many or little minutes there are. Side by side for the lead again. Jake Samet trying to retake around the outside of Blanchimont, and he is nose ahead on the way into the chicane, sticking to that right side of the circuit, almost 2 by 2 behind, and the battle will continue. The problem for Samet and Dimek is that there's not much they can do to keep this pack at bay. Every time they battle and go side by side, everyone just comes right back into it.
That's the power of the draft here around Spa, and Aaron De Battista is starting to wake up and look, get himself into the money picture. Right place, right time. Mercieka back there side by side on the outside with Caruana there on the inside. There is Aaron in third, looking for the double today as he pushes up the hill. Look at the run he gets on Jake Samet. He's forced to run wide. They've only got 10 incident points to play with in this race, so they can't afford to be too liberal. And now Ilan Dimek tried to block the road, but it's not there. Suddenly we're 3 wide once again up the run here towards Lake Coombe. Battle of the late breakers. It's going to have to be. Steve Farrell's got another watch of it. 3 by 3. Nowhere to turn for Jake Samet. All of a sudden, it's Aaron De Battista at the front. Ilan Dimek second, can now play deputy. Samet back to third and struggling because Steve wants away.
Yeah, a little bit of contact between Samet and Steve on the way out of Lacombe, so that unsettled Jake Samet just a tiny little bit, but now Caesar Farrell has got a lot more to play with here. Plenty of other cars behind him, and he's pushing as hard as he can to maintain this 4th spot up 2 places. Caruana, meanwhile, passing Mikael Mercier, or was that Mercieka, sorry, passing Craig Caruana into the double left of Pouhon, which is not traditionally a passing zone, but I think with the racing that we've gotten so far,
Steve!
Every single corner is a passing zone. He's around.
Steve Farrell losing it all on his own, the back stepping out too much, and there goes his shot of big points then from 4th as he falls back down to 8. Steve Caesar Farrell will not be the most happiest bunny at the moment in the pen. You can see it here, just trying to turn it in, and he's just not got the rears to hold on. That, to me, screams I've used a little bit too much and I don't have the limit of grip that I want. We've got to go back to the leaders, though, because they are 1, 2, and 3 now here. De Battista under threat. Ilan Dimek Girshy there in second. And Jake Samet just watching on, thinking, I can't make the move on one of them. I've got to get by both.
And you know what? There's
bye-bye!
Oh, no! Dimek around out of the chicane. That's huge!
That was unforced and just too eager on the noisy pedal. He was also slightly over the anti-cut curb, which I think disrupted the natural contact patch. He got air underneath that rear left tyre, and that has done everything. Ilan Dimek now back with Steve Farrell. We'll take a look there. You can see the smoke screen as he tried to get it back up to pace, and with 2:45 remaining on the clock, we've got 2 laps to go, and Aaron De Battista's got a second.
He won the GT3 race and had to fend off a great battle from Ilan, but now he's all alone out in front, but that gap is diminishing. Look at the drivers catching up behind him, almost side by side for 4th place as they find their way through Lecombe for the penultimate time here. And we'll hop on board with Mikhail Mercieka, who's had an absolute wonder run. Remember, he didn't take part in qualifying. He couldn't get into the session. He somehow managed to get it done and warm up, and he finished P3.
10-second time penalty for car 59, which is Brandon Bonello, for causing contact with Sean Cassar. Cassar's just had a go around, and Brandon Bonello now, after that, has got no nose cone at all, trying to run back. So he's in a world of trouble. You can see him muttering in on the radio how upset he is and how little downforce he will now have on the front of his car. De Battista still clear, but it's Samet and Mercieka too from Aversa who are trying to hunt down. Craig Caruana still in this one in 4th, but they're going to have to take the whole lap race to get themselves to position on the final lap of the race.
Yeah, they're going to have to put on their hardest driving that they possibly can here. Gap sitting at about half a second on the way out of Stavilo, which means an impressive run through those corners for Samet. At least he's managed to find his way ever closer to the lead. Ayrton Jontona, he spent some time in the pit lane, and we thought that he'd retired from this one, but he is back out there. He will be getting points for 9th. Meanwhile, here comes the battle for the lead. De Battista under pressure.
Half a second through Stavilo is not enough to get you safe, because that's a lovely pass from Jake Samet, who likes running his races from the front. As you look around and see these 4 right now, De Battista in 2nd, Mercieka in 3rd, Caruana there in 4th. They have afforded themselves the opportunity to go and race for victory here in round 1 of the F4 Malta National Sim Racing Championship here, and they know this final lap means absolutely everything, and 3 personal bests come across the board for how fast they've been having to run. Samet now knows he's got to be alert to where the move comes, up the hill, climbing through the Ardennes forest here, and now here comes the chance. Now's the chance to make your move, and it's Aaron De Battista who's got the run. Mikhail Mercieka thinks about following. He lifts out under braking. De Battista now leads, and he runs slightly deep, and so Samet's going to have to go wide to try and find that move. That gives Cassar a chance on the outside of Malmedy, but he loses out on understeer, and they'll stay as they are for the moment then, with De Battista now your leader down through Brussels and into the middle sector for what will be the final time in this race. Patience going to be needed. Aaron has been in this position before. He takes a glance over his left shoulder, not once but twice, to try and get a look at Jake Samet, and to try and look maybe at Craig Caruana to see if he's going to offer any help. Maybe a look in the eyes of Mikhail Mercieka. There is Jake Samet right now in this 2nd position, happy to follow this gap at about 2 car lengths back. He is more than in the wheelhouse here as they will make the run, but at what point do the elbows come out? At what point do you say it's more than just, can I get the move at the chicane? Yes or no? Here through campus, the money corner comes now of Stavilo, and now it is all about your run to get yourself over to Blanchimont. No further action called by race control then, as it is noted on the incident that we've seen earlier on. Here comes Jake Samet to the outside, looking the long way around at Blanchimont for it. De Battista almost interlocks wheels, trying to pinch him down to that inside as much as he possibly can. He's better on the brakes into the chicane, and now needs the drive here. It's off camber, so it's very tough to get it done. Mercieka's got a wonderful run. We're going to be 3 wide over towards this. De Battista's got time to scratch his head, of all things. Now here comes the chance. Who's the bravest? At La Source, it's Jake Samet. Can he getting slowed up? Yes, Batista and Caruana, the two teammates, come together. Samet and Mercieka, 1 and 2. What a race at Spa. Jake Samet takes race 1.
Incredible finish, and Craig Caruana managed to get on the podium and all of that. Remember, he was looking like he was nowhere on the first lap. Well, it's all about surviving till the final lap. Let's see this again. 3 wide coming into the final corner of the race. There was always going to be something that went wrong for someone, but I don't think I was anticipating this, Jake.
No, and look, Caruana just lunges for it, tries to go for it. It's aggressive. It's the last corner of the last lap. And what is rule 1 of sim racing, Reese?
Don't hit your teammate. I hear it's also rule 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc.
Yeah, because you keep shouting it louder and louder and louder in someone's ears. Do not hit your teammate. And ultimately, that is going to really cost, and it might cost post-race, actually, there as far as they go. So unofficially, Jake Samet in 17 minutes and 6 seconds wins by 9/10 over Mika Mercieka, who from the back of the field, dead last, has finished second at the championship opener. Craig Caruana is third, with Sean Cassar then in fourth, but there could be penalties go through. Aaron De Battista, sixth after all of that and the contact that has come through. I think we have just seen the most absolutely elbows out, pure white knuckle-fisted brawl of a sim race we have seen in a very long time between you and I.
Oh yeah, and we've seen quite a few of them. That was an absolute bust-up, and that's what we love to see. That just goes to show how hard-fought this championship is going to be. This is only round 1 of 5. We've got 4 more 15-minute races to come over the next month or two to decide who of these drivers becomes champion, and I think there's going to be some tempers flaring after this one.
There absolutely will, and there are so many great contenders, I would say, as well, Reese, for Driver of the Day, which you still have the opportunity to go to wpr.gg/vote/715, and the key is going to be Mercieka didn't really put his car in any position wrong, and he just profited his way up to second. Jake Samet had to fight for it all at the front, and for all that what happened, there were some great drives early on from the Intercom VMD guys. You know, Ilan Dimek looked great early on. Aaron De Battista found himself right place, right time. Sean Cassar, the way he battled back.
Yeah, incredible stuff from Sean Cassar as well. I mean, there's a lot of great stories to come out of this race, isn't there? And a lot that's going to inform the narrative of the season going forward. Samet, though, taking first blood. I'm sure that he will hold his head high after that one. He really had to work for that victory.
Yeah, and this is going to be one where you say momentum. And it's a critical word, momentum, because it's not just how do I go through the season and build it? It's how do I start? What's my momentum when I start? And a lot of drivers today will feel I lost my opportunity rather than I gained my chance.
Yeah, as we've been saying all the way through our commentary today, a long track like Spa, it's got lots of really important traction zones, and I think we saw a couple of drivers just have issues getting that power down properly. Either that or they were compromised in a battle on the way onto a straight and they ended up losing touch. Yeah, that's one lesson to take, especially when we go to tracks like the Red Bull Ring and Watkins Glen later on in the season.
And if you think that Spa is one of those where you get overtakes of 3 wide as you go up the Camel Straight, imagine the run up the S's at Watkins Glen, the run to the Intervetten turn over at the Red Bull Ring. Those 2 corners stand out like sore thumbs in these cars, and you know, drivers were giving each other room to battle, and for the first 10 minutes, we saw that squeaky clean, 8 cars together, throwing moves like their lives depended on it.
Yeah, even in a 15-minute race, you got to treat it like an endurance competition. You need to survive those first couple of laps, and full credit to the field. They ran beautifully cleanly over those first couple of laps. That's the kind of sim racing that you want to see, that you want to take part in. The drivers giving each other that little bit of extra room to ensure that they all were able to fight in those last couple of laps. But that's when the powder keg exploded.
And it exploded, I don't think, Reese, not because the race was, you know, everyone was being too aggressive. I think it exploded because we had two very important spins that happened. We had Brandon Bonello and Sean Cassar make contact with each other, and that caused the time penalty. But then also Ilan Dimek and Steve Farrell's spins opened up the vacuum that everyone else tried to rush into.
That's the very important part of a battle, is making sure that you're there when other competitors fall by the wayside. And fully, just full credit to the other drivers. They were able to find themselves in a gap where they were able to take advantage of that and not necessarily hinder anyone else. I mean, we're having another look again at just some of the fantastic racing that we saw here. I believe this may be the final lap, or at least in the middle of the race. Just a great demonstration of how these drivers were able to fight with each other so cleanly. It's really impressive.
It's incredibly impressive, and we've seen just how impressive running like this has been time and time again. And this is for 5,000 euros, this championship here, the F4 standings, and it's 5,000 as well for the GT3, 5,000 as well for the virtual karting championships that are out there and are brought to you by and supported by Gaming Malta as part of its commitment to Malta's grassroots esports community. And returning for another year, World Pro Racing running the Malta National Sim Racing Championships, and they've done so every year since 2020. They've broadcasted live each season, and this year's 15,000 euro prize pool is the biggest champion that the championship has offered yet. And what I find that has been so wonderful about these battles, look how far back you can get the slipstream in these cars. I mean, you only have to take your iRacing to what you saw earlier on in Formula 3, and, it gave absolutely everything magnificent.
That it did, and we'll leave you with the sights and sounds of this race, this brilliant race that we just witnessed. If you missed it, this is your opportunity to get it again. We'll be back very shortly.
Right. 2 races in on the board. Let's get ourselves ready because we're going to have an almighty battleground to go in and get. Sean Cassar, Craig Caruana on the front row. They will now look around and look all the way down. 20 minutes then, more points to go and get, and we're underway for racing action. What a launch off of the get-go by Mikhail Murchieka as we get ourselves back underway. It's Jake Sperry and Reese Gardner bringing you all of the coverage here, but now is about the launch that you can get up Eau Rouge to Radion, and now with an extra 5 minutes, look at how they all scrap and battle as they now figure out what is in this one for me. 2 and 3 wide that they've all got, and try and pick your lane. Look at this craziness off of the start of the race, sweeping around the outside. Craig Caruana leads, Sean Cassar second, Murchieka still in third.
This is fantastic racing already. Saw Jake Samet, our race 1 winner, trying to poke his nose up the inside at Lacombe. Speaking of poking, there's Sean Cassar having a look at Craig Caruana as they find their way through Bruxelles for the first time, up over the curb and a little unstable there for Caruana, and that's going to compromise him on the way out. Here comes Sean. He's going to go for the move up the inside at Pouon, which is going to completely erase the small gap that they've already built. But hey, look at that, flinging his way into the corner, Craig Caruana. He's not keen to give this up.
Josh Corchi had a little bit of contact. Josh Corchi Savona down at the back, so he's dropped himself a little bit of time. Cassar now is looking at this at Vanya, fighting hard with the side-by-side, looking for angle, looking for line, looking for commitment, and right place, right time. The aim of the game, De Batista fourth, Dylan Dimek then in fifth, Jake Samet watching on as best of the rest here in 6th place, and now side by side through Stavolo. No, don't tell me we're going to go 3 wide towards Blanchimont. I think Murchieka there is just holding on the line, saying, I don't want it. I don't want it right now. And here's the issue of I don't want it. Someone who does comes behind. De Batista blocked off through Blanchimont, and now Sean Cassar looking at the defence here. Caruana wants the lead.
But Cassar is defending the inside, coming into the chicane. Coming up to the end of lap 1 now.
In the back.
Beautiful run around the outside. It is on in the back, isn't it? Brandon Bonello falling to the last position, and it looks like he's got pretty heavy damage.
No rear wing this time. He's had a front go off, a rear go off. He's had a horrible day at the office here in the Maltese National Sim Racing Championships. Had to really check up. Ayrton Tanar has gone into the back of him, and Sean Cassar now back to second because Craig Caruana now leads this field. Samet having to really fight hard then over with Ilan Dimek as they climb the crest behind, but a lap in the books out of the 20 minutes, and so they know that one race gives them a certain amount of points. This second race gives them a lot more to go and think about as Ilan Dimek here. Look at them. 2, 2, 1, then 2. They are dueling on the straight.
Lovely stuff. Noah's arcing it into Lacombe, and Cassar moves back to the lead. It's interesting to note that in the midst of all of this, despite all the fighting we've seen, the top 4 drivers are still in the same positions they started in. I mean, the numbers really don't tell the full story of this race, and we've only just gone 3 minutes in. We have an extra 5 minutes in this second race to contend with too. Race 1, of course, was 15 minutes. This is 20. So that'll give the drivers, I'd say, about 3 extra laps max to continue to fight their way to the win.
Yeah, so they're going to need to use those laps, and they're going to have to use them effectively. And look how effective the start of this run has been. So Bonello in the pits. He's got his damn trapeze. He's out and away. Josh Corchi Savona off the back, and Ayrton John Tanar desperately trying to stay with the group of Steve Axisa Farrell and Jake Samet. Outside of that, it is just a case of hold your ground. VMD Intercom, 4 cars in the top 5. Murchieka seems to be the stranger among them at this moment in time. Now through the curve of Paul Fret and over back towards Blanchimont once more. A chance to settle down now with them all in a line. It's not a case that they're swarming over the top of everybody at the moment, which is what we saw in that first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think everyone's just playing it calmly as they did in race 1, but They've got a bit of extra experience now racing wheel to wheel. So I think, oh, that's a lock up there from Caruana. Oh, he almost had the move done. And now he's going to have to keep an eye out for Mercieka, who's coming up on him now on the inside at La Source. Sean Cassar back to the lead. De Battista, Dimek, Samet and Farrell are not too far behind, and it looks like Tonna is just holding on to the back of this pack as well. He's one of a few drivers hoping for a better run here in race 2.
I think so, and the fact that he's got himself steady now and he understands what they're dealing with, I think he'd be quite happy. Mercieka with the fastest lap on a 2:24 flat out there at the moment in sim time of just gone 20 past 12, 38-degree track temperature. It's warm out there, but there's nothing less aggressive than this because it is piping hot battles. Caruana making the move to the inside, Mercieka on the outside. In the middle is going to then be the likes then of those waiting for that. Sean Cassar sweeping it around, still going to find himself to second as Mercieka just watches on and waits patiently for opportunity. De Battista and Dimek watching on behind them as well, and locked up brakes down through Brussels.
Mercieka is in a really tough position here. He is in a double-decker sandwich of teammates. It's 2 VMDs in front, 2 VMDs behind, and he has no one to help him at the moment. So it's all down to him to see what he can do versus these guys who are surely keen to continue this battle. Caruana and Cassar, they're not giving each other an inch. They are pushing each other as hard as they possibly can here. But Mercieka is taking advantage, has a look up the inside of Cassar for second spot, but Cassar translates that into a beautiful move around the outside into Fugne, which becomes the inside for the left-hander. He is back to the lead once more.
Oh, and the checkup that they have pulls De Battista side by side suddenly with Ilan Dimek, who wants to go to the outside. There is Aaron Hatton at the moment, would have been upset with the contact with Sean Cassar at the end of that first race and will now need to make up for the lost time that's there and available. Mercieka now looking for a move, as too is Jake Samet. Helps on the horizon, this double-decker sandwich, or a manwich as it would be at this point, is now looking around and saying, what can you do? Now Sean Cassar turns around and says, look, on the brakes, can I find angle? Can I find line? Mercieka still working now to the inside, gets himself up to second, and Samet's pushed out by Steve Farrell.
Close as you like here at the end of the third lap. My timing's telling me we've still got 6 to go. Savona falling off the back of the order there, and Brandon Bonello, after a trip through pit lane, is a long way behind these guys. Spent quite a while there in the pits. So now it's down to our top 8, and it looks like Ayrton Tonna is looking at Jake Samet there coming into a Rouge and Radiant, but doesn't look like he's going to get the move done on the way into it. He'll be the one picking up the slipstream, though, and he effectively has the slipstream of all 7 drivers ahead of him. Let's see what kind of speed he can get up to here.
Well, he'll only have 6 because they're side by side in front of him, and he really wants to go forward. Steve Farrell moving over, but critically Mercieka losing out again to Craig Caruana for the pass. So another little bit of movement then, scoring itself complete, and the pass once again on the transfer there. But Mercieka gets a great run over the top of the hill, but once more, I have never seen a driver back out of so many moves like Mikael Mercieka has. He's been given the keys to the castle to overtake in various guises, and he hasn't quite found it. And Tanar shake of the head then as he watches again Jake Samet make the move.
Yeah, I think that Mikael Mercieka, yes, he has the keys to the castle, but he wants to make sure that it's fully renovated and his bed is made before he officially moves in. You know, a 20-minute race, 5 minutes longer than race 1, there is more time to try and put yourself in that position. And with how strong the slipstream is, how close the racing has been, it really doesn't matter where you are until the final lap starts. And I think that Mikael is playing this really well right now. He's showing aggression where needed. He's letting the drivers know that he's not here to play around, but he is not going for a move that would end in disaster or slow him up.
No, and it's that preservation that is going to get him big points in the championship, and that's what he's trying to bank on here. Cassar being attacked by Craig Caruana is what he banks on, and there goes Craig to the outside, looking to make that pass, and does so to go up to the race lead. So as simple as that is the overtaking philosophy, with De Battista and Ilan Dimek there, 4th and 5th. Dimek defending now from Steve Axiza Farrell. The fight for 5th place that is on, and over to the last source hairpin. No real chances for a move otherwise, but they do encroach on each other through this section. This is going to be a mightily aggressive run up to Radion.
Yeah, Caruana locking up a little bit on the way into La Source with the dip in the track that is at the apex of that hairpin. And they almost ran into each other coming out of that corner, but they backed off and waited for the Kimmel Straight. Look at that, they're boxing in Mercieka there, and one of their teammates, Aaron De Battista, is going to go for it here. He thought about it, but nothing doing for the moment. Can't move over to the right because Mercieka's there, and he's got his 2 teammates ahead of him, battling for the lead. Big slide for Craig Caruana, and now Farrell and Ilan Dimek are right with them.
Suddenly, VMD Intercom, 1, 2, 3, as far as they stand. And now Farrell trying to go around the outside of Ilan Dimek. This to put him up into the top 5. Jake Sammett's found his way back. Understeer aplenty then for Craig Caruana. Pulls De Battista almost a side-by-side. And Sean Cassar, given the biggest luxury in sim racing right now, a gap.
Yeah, about 9/10 of a second now, just going over to 1 second as they make their way into Puon. But we saw how a huge gap like that was erased within half a lap last race. So I'm expecting more of the same here, as long as these guys can sort themselves out. De Battista going for 2nd spot on Craig Caruana, who is clearly having some issues with his rear tyres. I think he might have overheated them a little bit. He's been having a couple of jinks to the right and slides, etc. And he's going for it again here on De Battista. They're not giving each other any quarter. They may be driving the same colour car, but they're both racing for those top honours. And Mikel Mercieka, well, he doesn't have to worry about teammates in this scenario. He's going to go for it at Blanchimont, and it looks like Farrell's going to try and follow him.
Look, there's an element of you can't sit by forever. You've got to be aggressive, especially when the pack is falling away from your sole race leader. They've got to communicate. There's contact between Farrell there and, by the looks of things, Craig Caruana. So the fight on the brakes to the chicane, and they've allowed the breakaway to occur. Steve Farrell almost pushing on the rear tyre there of the driver in front of him in Aaron De Battista. It is a very aggressive pack, and it's going to fan to 3 wide into last source, and someone who knows all about 3 wide into last source and coming up trumps. Jake Samet, not that time.
Certainly not. But I think Jake is another one of those drivers that's just biding his time at the moment. Sean Cassar now out in the lead by over 2 seconds, brings us down into the 2-minute 23-second bracket for the first time on fastest laps. Ayrton Jontona, meanwhile, is keeping himself clean here at the back of the pack. And I think still, like everyone else, just biding his time until those last couple of laps, but they are not far away. That's the visual gap for the lead for Sean Cassar, but Farrell's going for it on Mercieka. He'll move into 3rd.
Yeah, and De Battista now up to 2nd. A look from the very dirty wings or visor of Mikhail Mercieka here as he looks to work this one down the hill and realises, look, I'm going to be in and around and look to try and pick up my points this way. This is not what they were hoping for. They just got so aggressive that they let the horse bolt from the stable, and I think everybody out there was realising, well, who left the door open? Well, it doesn't matter who left the door open. Someone go corral the horse.
And the horse will bolt straight out of the stable there for Mikhail. He gets up the inside into Puon on Steve Axisa Farrell. We'll ride on board with him here through Fanye, see what he can do here. Very aggressive entry, but trying to late apex it for the better run out of the corner here. Oftentimes, you'll want to get to the apex as soon as possible here at Spa, but there's a lot of benefit to just focusing on that straight line run on the way out of these corners, especially when you have a whole bunch of slipstream to take advantage of. A bit more of a gap for 2nd place for Aaron De Battista, but the gap for the lead has come down now by a couple of tenths.
Yeah, so Sean Cassar being reeled in. He's on his own. It's a big group behind, and it's starting to get stretched here by Aaron De Battista, and I think everybody in the train knows it. You got to go out there and find it. Caruana looking every which way on Steve Caesar Farrell for position. He's going to get his pivot line there in the back of shot, and they rub tyres, and suddenly there comes Ilan Dimek to pick up the scraps. He takes one. Jake Samet might want a position as well. He looks a little bit mean-faced there. Ilan Dimek, you can argue, looks a little bit grumpy at the moment, the fact he's so far back down in the order. Remember, he was leading in that race one.
He was certainly up there, but it all went wrong for him at the final couple of corners. Some trading of fastest laps there. Now De Battista has the faster time as they make their way back up the hill once again. Samet gaining a position there over Craig Caruana, who looks like is continuing to struggle with the balance of his car. Very important to keep the car in its prime phase all the way through this race. You push too hard, you burn through those rear tyres, you are in trouble through these long corners.
And especially seeing as we've got an extra 5 minutes to go and work with, and we are into that added time right now, and they realise that it's a case where they can't go and save the tyres. They absolutely have to burn it. They absolutely have to use it, because they've got to catch that guy down who has just walked away from them and gone, yeah, come catch me. And nobody's really been in a position where they can. De Battista turning the screw here, trying to get away from Mikhail Murcieka. He's managing that, and suddenly this is becoming a race of 1-1 and, well, the rest for 4 and 2, rather than it is a group of 7, a group of 8 that we would have seen in race 1. This has very much turned into a completely different style of race here at Spa.
And now the pressure will be on De Battista to close the gap to Sean Cassar. Certainly capable of that. It took him a few minutes, I think, to really get into the groove of things, especially with his qualifying performance there for race 1. So we'll see what more he can do. The gap is continuing to shrink. Now at 1.5 seconds, and not only is De Battista gaining time on Cassar, he's managed to put some distance between himself and Murcieka as well, and Mikhail still has 3 or more cars behind him looking to take that position off him. I think that the battle for third is going to be where it's at here, and speaking of, oh, that is massive there. Almost getting into it was Steve Farrell with Ilan.
Yeah, Jake Samet wants in as well. Ilan Dimek almost willing himself forward there by jumping and repositioning himself in his seat. So he realises now, doors ajar. Down the inside goes Jake Samet. He tries to hold around the outside. He's in the gravel. Samet leaves the room, and the move is there and made. Caruana under threat from Ayrton Jontanar, and no changes out there. They cross with what will be 3 minutes to go, so 2 laps left, but critically the gap still at 1.6 seconds as they cross the line with 1,000th difference of it. De Battista knows he gets to about 1.5. He can start using slipstream, but he's leaving this one right to the last lap unless Murcieka decides he wants to get involved and make the move, and he does. Wants to think about the outside. He's not going to get it.
Managed to close up that gap beautifully to De Battista. I think if I were in Mikhail's position, I would avoid really going for the big moves, unlike Mikhail seems to be doing here, and just let Aaron drag me up to Sean Cassar in the lead. There's still time for that to happen.
There is, but Mikhail Murcieka, I think, is sensing I'm running out of time, and I might want to just go for second, take the points, and run away. Aaron De Battista is a direct rival. There is Steve Caesar Farrell, who sits there in 4th. Now, he would love the boon of a podium here in this second race of tonight, or to this afternoon even, I should say, to go, right, this is what I'm capable of doing. Sean Cassar right now is sat in the absolute catbird seat. Nobody could ask for anything better than this.
This is a perfect result for Sean Cassar right now. The gap for the lead has increased thanks to all of that fighting. Now sits at 1.8 seconds. So that's going to be really difficult to erase on the final lap unless Cassar makes some kind of mistake. We'll keep our eye on Jake Samet here. He's been making moves steadily over the last few laps. That's him dispatching Ilan Dimek-Gerzi into Parchemont, but not quite. Bit of contact on the way through.
And that forces Caruana to go to 3 wide. They battle at 2 wide in front as well. De Battista holds his ground way too deep for from Craig Caruana. Everyone's going to go back. Massive tip over for Ayrton John Tanat. And that will be his run and attempt sorted. The young lad's going to be not very happy about it. He was just wrong place, wrong time at the wrong moment. And Sean Cassar still holding his margin well with a lap to go here around the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It's De Battista, Murcieka and Farrell. Then in that second, third and fourth positions. Replay on screen. Reese, talk us through it.
So 3 wide on the way into the chicane, and Ayrton John Tanat minding his own business here, but the recovering Craig Caruana unfortunately getting into him as he tried re-entering the circuit on the inside of the final corner. Obviously didn't want to get the slowdown penalty that's accrued from using that little bit of racetrack, but that's just unfortunate.
Contact between De Battista and Murcieka back there for second place. The group starting to get back from 3 to 5. Ilan Dimek and Jake Samet now thinking they've got a little sniff of something if they work it hard. Brussels corner, round the outside tries Jake Samet, still unable to get by the imperial iron wall that sits of Ilan Dimek Girshi, who is not going to let anybody get by him if he can at all help it. Murcieka still waiting. Steve Caesar Farrell still there, and a look then at Aaron De Battista, and then of course your race leader there of Sean Cassar, who's tiptoeing his way through Fania right now with still 2 seconds in the back pocket to go and work with. He is going to be loving it at this moment in time. There's also that focus behind, and who will pick up the scraps at the table to finish things off. Going through here, the right-hand bend of Stavolo and the long road to home that continues on from here. Now, does Mikhail Murcieka want it now? He's not sitting in the slipstream back there. He's waiting for the right time to get the run, which will be just coming out of Blanchimont rather than making the attack in it. Sean Cassar driven wonderfully out there, but what of the minor positions that go along? Murcieka on the outside doesn't have enough of a run. Can he be better on the brakes? No is the answer. Couldn't quite turn it in either because of Steve Farrell. Ilan Dimek trying to put his nose in where it belongs and drive off the exit now. It's going to have to go all the way to the last source hairpin to decide where it's going to be. Murcieka thinks to the inside, back to the outside. It's covered wonderfully by Aaron De Battista, but it is Cassar's to go and get this back. Sean Cassar will take the win in the 20 minutes. Big old wide smile. He knew what that meant. De Battista in second. Murcieka ends up third.
Brilliant podium from all 3 of those drivers. You could see how satisfied De Battista was with that one. He wasn't quite in contention for the win at the end, but he won the battle for second, which is more than good enough. Nearly, well, over 2.5 seconds the gap for Sean Cassar in the end. And that's just it, really. When you're battling as close as this, drivers going side by side and diving for moves behind you, you can just keep yourself in check out front and come away with a brilliant victory. That's as close to dominance as I think we're going to get here.
Yeah, that is a huge margin for these cars. 2.4 seconds, Reese. Might as well be 24 seconds.
Agreed. There's not much that you can do to assail a lead of that length. And I got to say, great run from Steve Caesar Farrell as well. Gaining 3 spots. He was the hardest charger in the field to get himself up from 7th to 4th.
Yeah, he drove wonderfully up through the order. Very measured performance. Still waiting on Brandon Bonello here to come to the line after having the major damage and trying to go and get things sorted. Your vote is now officially closed here, ladies and gentlemen, for driver of the day. And we can confirm with 30% of the vote share totaled up, it is Jake Samet who has won driver of the day. A -1 performance then in race 2, but drove wonderfully in race 1 to go and take the victory. Sean Cassar then with Aaron De Battista second and Mikhail Murcieka making up your top 3 ahead of Steve Caesar Farrell, Ilan Dimek Girshi and Jake Samet. Craig Caruana would finish 7th ahead of Ayrton John Tanat with Joshua Corci Savona and Brandon Bonello making up your 10 as far as the field would stack. And Reese, two very polar opposite races that we've had here today. We've had the all-out brawl, and that was a more measured fine wine, in my opinion.
Yes, I think I certainly got some notes of tyre smoke, a little bit of burning rubber, but aside from that, an absolutely exquisite second race. Minus, of course, the unfortunate incident for Ayrton John Tonner, who frankly did nothing wrong in that final chicane. He was just the unfortunate victim of sort of kind of poorly timed re-entry there. But aside from that, the racing was clean, hard and fast all the way through the field. We've got a fantastic group of drivers here who aren't afraid to get the elbows out, fire it up the inside, but see each other as worthy of a bit of respect out there. It's great.
Yeah, and they do give each other that respect. And this is not just a case of I'm going to go out there and I'm going to chuck it left, right, up, down, and just hope for the best. It doesn't feel like that. This feels measured, and it's measured throughout every single element. When you consider, Reese, that you go through the entire levels of sim racing, it's treated just like real-world racing here. So the level of tournament, very much the same. The level of stewarding, it has to be said, we've got FIA-accredited stewarding here for this event. So it is really taken to the top level. You are treated just like you would be on the racetrack.
That's the beauty of pro sim racing competitions like this one. You know, you may not be able to get into real life motorsport for whatever reason, but you can get in the sim, and if you have the talent, you can make your way to the top and engage with motorsport at the level you deserve to be engaging with. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be a part of all of this. This is a fantastic series, and we've gotten fantastic action just to boot it all up.
Absolutely. Your stewarding team today, Adrian Fagayo as your race director, with Chief Steward William England and assisting Nicholas Lee Gatt. They're making sure that all of that is set together here on a series that is brought to you as part of the Malta Motorsport Federation and has offered €15,000 of prize pool over the course of the 3 championships that we have. Brought to you, of course, in with Gaming Malta. It's supported by Gaming Malta as part of its commitment to Malta's grassroots esports community. Along here with World Pro Racing, who have run the Malta National Sim Racing Championship every year since the pandemic, with the broadcast live each season. So that's been really huge in terms of how they've gone, as well as our main sponsors out there, of course, are Gaming Malta, Moza Racing, Intercom, AMD, and GT Omega Racing, who are the supporting partners. Our technical partners, Simtech.dev and Arcafor, and then your media partners, TVM Sport, of course, Motorsports Malta, and ESTV. Reese, that is what we would call an absolute treat, and they are setting themselves up now for Imola, where I think you've got to be really precise, and that might be one of the few circuits out there over the course of this season where it is going to be about how strong your one-lap pace is going to be rather than your overall race pace.
Yes, I'll echo what I said earlier on after the GT3 race. Imola does have some very fast sections like Spa, but at Spa, it's the high speeds that dominate the lap. At Imola, it's all medium speed, sharp corners, chicanes that have been carved out of that historic circuit. And the curbs, at least in iRacing, are very brutal on the suspension. I think these stiffly sprung F4 cars are going to have a bit of a tough time hitting those apexes. I think precision is going to come into the fore there.
It will, and this was, again, another really, really clean affair, but 2 incidents there. Brandon Bonello at the back of the, both at the back of the field. Brandon Bonello basically just, what a horrible week it's been for him today in this championship, Reese, because you think he couldn't get the opportunity to start in the GT3, and then loses his front nose in the first race of GT4, and then loses his rear wing in the second race of the F4, sorry. So you turn around and look at that and you go, well, no race, and then lose my front, lose my rear. I mean, what's he going to be left? He's going to be carrying the parts to Imola at this rate.
Yeah, I think so. He's certainly got a long road ahead of him to try and get back on track with everybody else. You know, it's just sometimes a race day just doesn't go your way, and I guess in a sense better to get it out of the way now at round 1 than have a great first 4 rounds and have it all come apart at the last round.
Yeah, I'd rather give myself room to try and chase rather than I've got no room to go and gather back the points that I am losing. I totally agree with you in that regard. It's easier to have a bad round early than it is to have a bad round late. But you now start thinking about, okay, well, now it's building block time. You got to build those pieces, and suddenly that second race of today has just opened up a few smiles for a few drivers who would have been looking at that first race going, oh, my ticket has gone, and suddenly there's more smiles and it's a much closer championship.
Absolutely. Mikhail Mursieka, I mean, again, the turnaround that he had, not being able to join the session during qualifying, ending up finishing on the podium in both races, I might add. A fantastic performance from that 333, and I think he's going to be a factor at the remaining rounds of the championship. We're just reviewing this action here at the moment, and some of the passing and moves that we saw in the early laps of race 2 here. Mursieka, a presence in the top 3 all race long. Some fantastic performances from Steve Axisa Farrell as well. He wasn't afraid to get his elbows out, and we found a P4 finish for him in race number 2 as well.
Yeah, so we got a lot of action then that has come through on this second race, and a good chance then to have a little bit of a look at it. We're going to get a lot to set through because race control are very much still calculating results because a lot happened late on in that race, so they're still tabulating as far as things are going. So we'll get a full confirmation of result then coming over to you shortly. And so we'll take a look at this action. Once we are through here with this action and race control have confirmed results, that'll be our opportunity, Reese, then to take a look at some of our drivers then to go through and say, look, here is going to be how much we push for the next stages as far as we go. We'll have a couple of interviews and then we'll have the chance to say, right, set yourself up for round 2 at Imola. Well, some amazing action then that we've had that has been brought over to you over the course of this day's worth of running. Some F4 action has been absolutely incredible. Joining us now is well, we hoped that we were going to get someone in. We were hoping to get Jake Samet in, but we're just waiting for the opportunity to do so. Reese, we are right on the precipice of saying, okay, that is going to be huge in terms of this. So we're going to have some great running coming up in terms of the next few rounds. Right, we're going to have some amazing running that is going to be out there and some work that has been brilliantly put together in terms of where we have been setting this championship on song and ceremony through the likes of Motor Racing, Intercom, AMD and GT Omega Racing, the supporting partners, Gaming Malta, who have been so important. The event is supported by Gaming Malta as part of its commitment to Malta's grassroots esports community. And as well as that, our technical partners, Simtech.dev and Arcafor with TVM Sport, Motorsport Malta and ESTV, the Esports Television Network. So they've all been absolutely huge in terms of putting together some wonderful results out there. Reese, as far as this one has now set, I am really excited with the level that is being shown that keeps on building year on year.
I agree. This is only my first time being on the call for this particular championship, but I'm mighty impressed with the form of the drivers. It's looking like this is going to be a very tightly fought championship in both our GT3 and F4 categories, but still not the entirety of the competition. We've got the karting competition as well, and all three of these championships, a €5,000 prize pool each. That's what the drivers are racing for, and that's why the level is so high.
Yes, because they're having the opportunity now, Reese, to say, look, I want to race for a prize pool. I want to race for the ability to be called the best in my nation. And further to that, I am racing against people that either I've raced before or maybe even I haven't raced before and I found my way to qualify through just by being a natural talent. So it's a case of you're trying to step up and the building blocks are there. You got two big teams, yes, but there are drivers who will take this and say even if they're not at the top or if they didn't qualify, this is a big learning experience.
Yeah, and it also gets your name out there as well. Having your name up in lights on international television, no less. It's a huge opportunity for esports racers trying to make their way in this hotly contested micro world that we find ourselves in. You know, it's incredible to see the talent that has risen up in sim racing over the last few years, especially since the events of 2020. And I really hope that the level just keeps on building because we're in a great place right now and the only way is up.
It very much is, and up is the way that many of these drivers have gone to go and push. Your Multinational Sim Racing Championship for 2026 successfully gearing itself up then with an opening salvo scored complete. But crucially, in terms of today's running, Jake Samet able to get on top after 3 wide to the final corner, but it was runaway in race 2, and Sean Kassar can say that he is a very happy camper after his result. Lots to go and work with. Every opportunity that will come up on the horizon. From Reese Gardner and myself, Jake Sperry, thank you so much for joining us for action. There'll be more to come when round 2 heads to arguably my favourite circuit of them all, the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, otherwise known as Imola.
From our first breath, Enemed powers life's journey. Every step of the way. Supporting you through life's milestones. Fueling businesses that drive our economy. And providing the energy that brings families together. We're there when you set sail on your new adventure. And when the plane takes off to connect you to the world. Our commitment to quality and innovation ensures we meet the needs of today, tomorrow, and beyond. Life is a journey, and Enemed is proud to power yours. Wherever life takes you, we will be there.